A tense silence fell across the courtroom, heavy with anticipation. There wasn't a spare seat, all eyes watching the drama unfold. At the rear, journalists stood, notepads open and cameras poised, ready to record what was fast becoming the most dramatic betrayal ever in reality television history. At the front, Janelle Brown sat calmly, her hands neatly clasped in her lap. Her face revealed nothing, but within, years of hurt and disillusioning anger seethed. This was not simply a matter of a courtroom ruling. This was about closure. At her side, Meri Brown remained motionless, jaw clenched, silence speaking louder than words ever could. For them, this moment was not merely legal, it was very personal. It was about being heard after having been ignored for so long. Throughout the courtroom, Cody and Robyn Brown remained at the defense table. Gone was Cody's familiar swagger. His fingers drummed nervously on the table, his eyes scanning the room. Robyn held a tissue, dabbing at her eyes in a display of grief, but it wasn't moving anyone. The room had tired of the act. The truth had been kept on hold for years, and now it was finally fighting its way to the top. The judge slammed the room into order, her gavel ringing with authority. She was a strict woman, her eyes cutting as she scanned her papers and nodded. "You may proceed, Mrs. Brown." Slowly, Janelle stood, taking a deep breath. The years weighed heavily on her shoulders, but she was prepared. She met the judge's eye directly, her voice firm and full of conviction. "Cody and Robyn took us all in," she declared. "They said they had the best interests of everyone at heart, but they spent the money wildly and destroyed our trust. Today, we present the truth, with documents to demonstrate how they've betrayed not just this family, but this court." A ripple ran through the room. Cody shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He could sense the stares of those who once looked up to him as a leader. Now the same eyes brimmed with doubt and silent judgment. But Janelle's strength only increased. Her voice grew stronger, her message clearer. This was no longer just about the past. This was about reclaiming power. This was about standing upright in the midst of betrayal and declaring, "Enough." Janelle glared at Cody, her face firm and determined. "We were promised equality," she started, "that everything would be shared 50-50. That was the basis of this family, the rule we believed in and based our lives upon." She waved her hand to the stack of papers before her attorney. "So, what's the truth?" she demanded. "As we were struggling, you and Robyn were secretly living on family funds, forging a parallel life for yourselves." Meri, who was sitting next to her, inched forward in solidarity. Janelle went on, her tone disapproving. "We believed in you, Cody. All of us did. But while you were teaching about sacrifice, you were siphoning family funds into a personal account. You told us things were close, that we had to tighten our belts, but behind our backs, you were using those funds to purchase a house for Robyn. You were subsidizing a lifestyle the rest of us never even got a glimpse of." Robyn's hold on her tissue became tighter as she attempted to steady her breathing. Cody hardened, his jaw clenching. "That's not true," he growled, his voice taut and defensive. Then, at that point, Janelle's attorney stood and walked over to the bench, setting a folder down in front of the judge. "Your Honor," she stated, "these are the books. Irrefutable evidence that tens of thousands of dollars were deposited into accounts held by only Cody and Robyn Brown." The judge opened the folder and started going through the pages. There was only the sound of paper rustling in the room. Cody blanched as he looked nervously at Robyn, who did not move or say a word. After a few seconds, the judge looked up. "Mr. Brown, can you tell me about this?" Cody fidgeted in his chair, clearly uncomfortable. "This is a miscommunication," he replied. "The choices I made were in the best interests of the family. There were needs that had to be met. Mary's chair creaked loudly as she rose suddenly. Her voice was hard and unflinching. No, Cody, this wasn't for the family. This was for you and Robyn, while the rest of us were left behind. Her voice was calm but brimming with rage. You abused our trust and stole from all of us to start a life with her. The room fell silent. Cody's mouth opened, then snapped shut, his fists curled over on the tabletop. Mary's voice cracked as she went on. Do you recall telling me we'd never have enough money to afford a house? That we had to be frugal with spending? That sacrifices had to be made for the greater good? She laughed harshly. And all along, Robyn was being comfortable and we were struggling. Lastly, Robyn discovered her voice, but it shook. That is not fair, she hissed. You are attempting to make this seem like we stole. Janelle's eyes flashed and she turned to Robyn. You did steal from us, she declared, her tone fierce. You and Cody stole everything. A tidal wave of whispers started to circulate through the courtroom, but the judge quickly raised her hand, quieting the room with one word, order. She then turned to the plaintiff's lawyer. Please go on. The lawyer nodded and waved another piece of paper. And here is a statement by Mr. Brown, in his own words, admitting that he put Robyn's needs ahead of his other wives, excusing the money transfers by stating Robyn's needs come first. Mary's eyes flickered shut for an instant. Her face contorted. She had always suspected what was true, but having it proven in court, heard by all in open words, hurt more than she anticipated. The judge's face was stern and unyielding as she addressed Cody. Mr. Brown, do you deny making this statement? Cody took a slow breath, his gaze sweeping the courtroom as if he was looking for the way out. He was always very good at evading confrontation, shuffling off difficult talk. But today, there was no way out. He settled back in his chair, quiet. The atmosphere in the room became thick and stale, the silence more deafening than any bellow. After a long silence, the judge spoke again. It is the court's finding that Mr. Brown and Mrs. Brown have misrepresented facts to this bench. The evidence clearly shows that the financial activity in question was deceptive and fraudulent. They will be held accountable. A unified gasp passed among the audience. Cody's arms fell to his side, and his head dropped low. Next to him, Robyn sat immobile, her mouth agape. But she spoke nothing. Nothing more was to be said. At the plaintiff's table, Janelle breathed slowly, vindication's weight falling on her shoulders. Before her, Meri looked up, and their eyes met in a moment of wordless comprehension. They had battled ferociously, and at last the truth had emerged. But that was not the end of the story. The woman who had once staunchly advocated for plural marriage, Robyn Brown, had transitioned quietly into a very different life. No longer resident in a shared home, she had accepted a more typical monogamous marriage with Cody. In place of the ideals of collective love and oneness was a life based upon one man, one home, and one facade. Robyn spent her days in the lavish $2.1 million mansion, wearing floral print vintage frocks, surrounded by her kids and a precisely selected set of porcelain dolls. She and Cody shared David Yurman rings, which had become the markings of a new beginning. The mansion and the suburban lifestyle offered a vision of domestic bliss, far from the complete picture. Even as she insisted publicly that she was going to make the marriage a success, cracks were appearing. Sometimes things go awry in paradise, Robyn conceded on television. She spoke gently, nearly with an air of apology. She admitted that nothing was perfect, even as she seemed to cling to the fantasy. She even admitted that she and Cody did have fights, Though she never elaborated, Robyn now appeared to represent a traditional notion of a woman who remains loyal, even at the cost of adopting the repressive customs of a previous time. While she had abandoned some of her old passive-aggressive traits, such as threatening Cody, as a man would disrespect her if he took on another wife, there was a very 1950s quality to her way of living. It was oppressive, as many, including myself, discovered. At a time when society was grappling with major issues like racism and widespread homophobia, most people were demanding change. Flower power and counterculture rejected the leave it to beaver mentality of the 1950s. Yet, some women still chose to live as if that era never ended. They reenacted its idealized form of homemaking, complete with retro dinner parties with oysters Rockefeller and ham jello salad, and maybe shaking Manhattans for their husbands who fit the image of characters from the television show Mad Men, which began in 1960, just as society was about to change. Although Cody Brown of Sister Wives isn't necessarily like Don Draper, the legendary Mad Men character, there are some similarities, particularly with respect to adultery. Cody is totally devoted as patriarch of the family. While he has periods of flaws not unlike Draper's from time to time, Robyn is apparently happy to let him get his way. Both men grew up in times when patriarchal values were the norm. Cody was raised on polygamous values, and Draper grew up when women were not in charge. Cody's devotion to his relationship is clear, demonstrated by moments like the one where he proudly shows matching rings with Robyn. This connection helps explain why Robyn, a traditionally feminine woman who once tried jewelry making, is content playing the wife role, despite the pressures. At the time that she got married, Robyn was more than $33,000 in debt on her credit cards, including Victoria's Secret, a firm that battled to set new standards of beauty. Her life, apparently affluent, was fraught with financial issues. The traditional lifestyle that she adopted is charming but challenging. Robyn must work twice as hard to keep her marriage intact with a man who can be resentful and irritable. Cody sometimes works against their relationship, according to Robyn. Most would agree the traditional wife dynamic only succeeded if the man was decent, not cruel. A tradwife is at risk of becoming overly dependent on a partner who was kind at first, but later becomes harsh, something Cody has been accused of. Nevertheless, Robyn makes her own money from being on Sister Wives, so she is not supported by Cody financially. However, they do fight over money. Cody likes to save, whereas Robyn likes to spend more money in order to enhance her life. Janelle has said that when they were spiritually together, Cody handled the finances, and Robyn may still require his permission for spending money. If that's the case, Robyn may feel too dependent on Cody, wanting to have more control in their financial decisions. Her take on monogamy indicates that she may not be entirely content with being a typical wife. In spite of children, costly jewelry, a luxurious house, and the white picket fence ideal, there is always something lacking. Robyn spent $70,000 on Etsy dolls. Although she may simply be a collector, her behaviors imply that she could be attempting to fill an emotional void. Consumption as a means of stress relief can lead to financial issues. It may be that Cody, attempting to appease his more traditional wife, is spending too much money on her, as Gwen Brown inferred in her YouTube video. Robyn truly needs an emotionally balanced partner who can face the hardships of life without getting agitated, one who has more than a pleasant face and designer outfits. Cody is the man of the house in their conventional marriage, but he hasn't been doing very well. His actions are unstable, and he has deep signs of emotional trauma. He is no longer the happy father figure Robyn must have wished he would be. Cody has been deeply traumatized by the loss of his son, Garrison Brown, and it has made him see things differently and act differently. While the tradwife life has some perks, Robyn might be fed up with its pitfalls. Being totally dependent on a man might not be wise if things do not work out. As with any relationship, tradwife life is a risk. It suits some individuals just fine, but it's obvious Robyn isn't as happy as she once was. There is no right or wrong in this case. This is simply her life. While all that, Janelle, the industrious family member, is beginning Tata Farms. She's go-getter like Mad Men's Peggy Olson. Similar to Joan Harris, Christina Hendricks, Janelle is self-assured, blunt, and forging her own way with her new husband, David Woolley. Meri, with that innocent sweetness like Trudy Campbell of Mad Men, is starting over and a tad more assertive due to self-betterment and a supportive partner. Despite obvious similarities between Mad Men and Sister Wives, Robyn and Cody may well come to see that their 1950s fantasy life no longer serves their life or the reality they originally envisioned for Coyote Pass. They may make it work, but regardless of whether Robyn actually lives the tradwife existence or not, neither appears to be well adjusted. Season 19 of Sister Wives has been filled with bickering, exposing the darker aspects of their union. It would not come as a shock if producers turned the attention to Christine Brown in Season 20. Cody had 19 seasons demonstrating life with 4 spouses, but now he and Robyn alone are left, haunted by relationships in the past. Cody attributes his dedication to Robyn with turning his other wives and children against him, but it could be more complex. Even though Janelle and Meri are still invested in Coyote Pass, Cody is not selling the property to resolve the situation. The two women both want the property sold, but Cody is still in charge and reluctant to make a decision. Emphasizing Christine, the happier of the two, may give the show a much-needed injection of excitement. Robyn and Cody appear to be disagreeing with everyone, including themselves. Reality shows require discord, but the bickering here is wearisome. Cody never owns up, always playing the victim, particularly to his ex-wives and their children. Christine has transformed totally and is happier than ever. If she took center stage, she would be able to infuse optimism and new vibes. She's bold enough to find happiness outside the family and shares wonderful experiences with boyfriend David. They've grown their Airbnb enterprise, subletting a lovely apartment in Moab, Utah, close to gorgeous red cliffs and hiking trails. Even Gruff Pond Brown softens around his mom, demonstrating the warm, healthy dynamic between Christine and her kids. Christine's return could breathe new life into Sister Wives, giving it a fresh, inspiring feel instead of stale. She candidly discusses overcoming fears, reminding audiences everyone has to face the monsters that destroy our peace and aspirations. Christine demonstrates that one can overcome such fears. Robyn and Cody may continue to feature on the show, but perhaps not as the central characters anymore. If Cody and Robyn continue to battle the ex-wives and are unable to get the Coyote Pass resolved, how much longer will audiences sit through the same narrative? Christine might usher Sister Wives into a new era, one of courage, optimism, and adventure. Cody is still resentful of the family split up, but doesn't know he was the reason. Christine's openness to selling her half of Coyote Pass for a paltry $10 illustrates her priorities. Happiness and freedom are more important than wealth. The show could use some of Christine's warmth and integrity after all the messy squabbles. She knows how to seek out the light, and her tale would be a welcome change. The television drama looks stale, but Cody's tension with Robyn could have people watching to see what happens. If they got their act together, they would be able to come back for season 21 with appreciation and change. The producers need to intervene because the cast is in a rut. Technology is assisting Janelle in coping with her mental health as she navigates real estate disputes with Cody. After departing the Brown family in 2022, she's been residing in North Carolina, developing her business. She and her daughter Madison have just invested in real estate. Janelle posted a new plan on social media: talk more, argue less. She appears to be gearing up for a potential battle over Coyote Pass and preparing herself for it. She recently began taking infrared saunas to unwind after tense weeks. Janelle confessed she's under considerable pressure from opening a new business, living as a single woman, and fighting the ongoing struggle with Cody and Robyn for her portion of Coyote Pass. On top of that, Maddie and Caleb have just welcomed a baby girl to the family, which also adds to the family's workload. It is wise that Janelle is taking care of her mental well-being. Janelle has acknowledged the stress in her life, and she's making actual steps to deal with it. Being healthy is her main concern as she weathers significant changes. Ever since she began a detox a few months ago, she's already noticed considerable enhancements in her overall health. One of the most important components of her self-care is the infrared sauna. Not only does it calm her, but it also helps her sleep better, a very important aspect of her journey towards health. Raised in a cluttered and crazy house with 14 kids and 4 women, Janelle has not been new to stress. But now, as she progresses to this new chapter of her life, finally she has the time and space to deal with it in positive manners. The sauna is now a mainstay in her regimen. Despite the tremendous strides she has made, Janelle acknowledges that taking care of herself remains a work in progress. The constant battle with Cody over Coyote Pass remains a heavy presence in her life, which increases her emotional load. Working with Cody is not easy. It could be the most difficult thing Janelle has ever done. And if it takes her half an extra hour in the sauna just to psych herself up for that fight, fine. It could very well be the battle of her life. What do you think? Is Janelle prepared to regain control for good? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more news like this. Thanks for watching.